The Tao Te Ching teaches, the sage sees reality. The fool sees his idea of reality. Lao Tzu. Most people don't see the world. They see their story about the world. They see their judgment, their interpretation, their bias. The Taoist way is learning to see what's actually there instead. This distinction changes everything. You think you're responding to reality. You're actually responding to your story about reality. When you learn to see reality without the story, everything transforms. Your responses, your relationships, your decisions, your entire life. Teaching 1. Most people see their story, not reality. The Zhuangzi describes two people looking at the same mountain. One sees danger, one sees beauty. The mountain is unchanged. Their seeing is different. This is the difference between seeing reality and seeing your story about reality. Your partner does something. You see it through the lens of past hurt or current anxiety. You see your story about what it means. You don't see the actual action. You see your interpretation. This is why couples misunderstand each other constantly. They're seeing their stories, not each other. Teaching 2. Your story is usually inaccurate. Your mind makes up stories constantly. Someone doesn't respond to your message. Your story, they're angry at me. Reality, they're busy. Your story, I'm not good enough. Reality, they haven't checked their phone. These inaccurate stories cause suffering. Most of your suffering comes from believing your stories, from treating your interpretation as if it's fact. The Taoist practice is learning to separate the story from reality. When you do, suffering decreases because you're no longer suffering from your stories about reality. Teaching 3. Reality is simpler than your story. Your mind complicates everything. It adds layers of meaning, assumptions, interpretations, predictions. Reality is usually much simpler. The person who can see simply sees clearly. The person caught in stories sees complexity created by their own mind. This is why children sometimes understand things better than adults. They see more simply. They haven't yet developed the complex story-making apparatus that prevents simple seeing. The Taoist practice is returning to this simple seeing. Teaching 4. Judgment prevents accurate seeing. The Zhuangzi describes a man who judged everything as good or bad. His life was chaos because he couldn't see simply. When he released judgment, he saw clearly. Everything was just what it was, neither good nor bad. Your constant judging of everything prevents you from seeing accurately. You judge this person as lazy, this situation as unfair, this change as bad. These judgments cloud your vision. Remove the judgment and you see clearly. You see the person as they are, the situation as it is, the change as it is. Teaching 5. Expectation prevents accurate seeing. You expect your partner to be a certain way. You expect your boss to respond a certain way. You expect situations to unfold a certain way. These expectations prevent you from seeing how they actually are. You see how you expected them to be. When your partner does something unexpected, you're confused. Not because they're confusing, but because they didn't match your expectation. Release the expectation and you see clearly. You see them as they are, with all their actual complexity, all their actual motivations. Teaching 6. Fear colors your seeing. Fear makes you interpret neutral actions as threatening. Fear makes you see rejection where there's only neutrality. Fear makes you see danger everywhere. The person operating from fear can't see clearly because fear colors everything. The person without fear sees simply. There's a story of a man who was fearful of rejection. He saw rejection everywhere. Someone didn't smile at him. He saw rejection. Someone was quiet. He saw rejection. His fear was creating his reality. When he released the fear, he saw that most people weren't rejecting him at all. Teaching 7. Wanting prevents accurate seeing. You want something so badly that you see signs of it everywhere. You want someone to love you, so you interpret their polite response as deep affection. You want a job, so you interpret a casual conversation as a job offer. Your wanting prevents accurate seeing. The Taoist practice is seeing without wanting. Seeing what's actually there rather than what you want to be there. This requires releasing attachment to specific outcomes. It requires trusting that what you need will come without forcing through inaccurate seeing. Teaching 8. The observer affects the seeing. In modern physics, the observer affects what's observed. In Taoism, this is understood as fundamental. You can't see completely objectively. Your consciousness affects your seeing. But you can see more clearly by being aware of this tendency. The practice is noticing when you're adding your story. Noticing when you're judging. Noticing when you're expecting. Noticing when you're afraid. Noticing when you're wanting. Each notice makes your seeing a little clearer. Each notice removes a little more of the distortion. Teaching 9. Clear seeing allows wise action. When you see reality clearly, you naturally respond wisely. You don't need to plan because clarity reveals what's needed. You don't need to force because you're working with reality instead of against your story about it. Action flows from clear seeing, This is why the Taoist sage seems to accomplish much without apparent effort. It's not that they're not working. It's that they're working from clear seeing. Working with reality. Working with what's there. Their action is effortless because it's perfectly aligned with reality. Teaching 10. The path to clear seeing is simple. Slow down. Pay attention. Notice your stories. Release your judgments. Release your expectations. Release your fears. Release your wanting. What remains is clear seeing. This seeing is your natural state. You've just been obscuring it. The Zhuangzi describes a student who couldn't see clearly despite years of practice. The master said, "You're trying too hard. Stop trying and you'll see." The student stopped. Immediately, clarity came. This is the paradox of clear seeing. It comes when you stop obscuring it with effort. These 10 teachings reveal the Taoist way of seeing. It's not about gaining new vision. It's about removing what's preventing your natural clear seeing. It's about returning to simple seeing. About releasing the stories. About trusting what's actually there. Your life changes when your seeing changes. When you see your partner accurately, your relationship deepens. When you see situations accurately, your responses improve. When you see yourself accurately, you accept yourself. Clear seeing transforms everything. Start practicing today. Choose one situation where you usually misunderstand. Notice your story about it. Ask, what's actually happening? Can I see without my story? Can I release my judgment? Can I release my expectation? This practice clarifies your seeing. The Tao Te Ching says, the sage sees the world simply. He doesn't add unnecessary complexity. He doesn't judge. He doesn't expect. He sees what is. This simple seeing is his wisdom. This clear seeing is his power. You've been taught to be analytical, to interpret, to judge, to expect. These are valuable sometimes, but they prevent clear seeing. The Taoist practice is balancing these with the ability to see simply, to see what's actually there without adding your story. When you walk into a room, what do you see? The room as it is? Or your story about the room? When you talk to someone, what do you see? The person as they are, or your story about them? This distinction is everything. This is where clear seeing begins. The promise of learning to see reality as it is includes freedom from unnecessary suffering. When you stop suffering from your stories, you have energy for actual living. When you stop responding to your interpretations, you respond accurately to what's actually happening. There's profound peace in clear seeing, not because everything is perfect, but because you're not adding suffering through inaccurate stories. You're accepting what is. You're responding to what is. You're living with what is. This peace is available through clear seeing. The Zhuangzi describes a man who practiced clear seeing until he saw the world as a perfect expression of the Tao. Not because the world changed, because his seeing changed. He removed the filters. He released the stories. He saw clearly, and the world was beautiful. You can practice this same seeing. You can remove your filters. You can release your stories. You can see clearly. And your world becomes beautiful not because it changed, but because you're finally seeing it accurately. Start small. In your next conversation, try to see the person without your story about them. What do you actually see without the story of who they are? Without the judgment, without the expectation, just the person as they are. This practice is revolutionary. In your next situation, try to see it without your story, without the judgment of good or bad, without the expectation of how it should be, just the situation as it is. What's actually happening? This clear seeing reveals what you actually need to do. Day by day, as you practice clear seeing, your life transforms. You understand people more accurately. You respond to situations more wisely. You accept yourself more fully. All because you're finally seeing what's actually there instead of your story about what's there. The Taoist way of seeing is the way of freedom. Freedom from your stories. Freedom from your judgments. Freedom from your expectations. Freedom to see clearly. Freedom to respond accurately. Freedom to live aligned with reality. This freedom is available to you now. Not someday when you understand everything, but now. By practicing clear seeing, by releasing your stories, by seeing what's actually there. This practice begins right now with one situation, one person, one moment of clear seeing. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if learning to see reality as it is through the Taoist way of seeing resonated with you. And you want more ancient wisdom on clear perception, releasing stories, and discovering how accurate seeing transforms your entire understanding of yourself and your life. The journey continues with each moment of clear seeing. Each time you notice your story, each time you release it, each time you see what's actually there, each moment compounds into transformed perception. You have the power to change how you see, not by changing the world, but by removing what's preventing you from seeing the world accurately, by removing your stories, by removing your judgments, by removing your expectations, by seeing clearly. The Tao Te Ching teaches, the sage sees clearly because he's released what clouds his vision. You can be this sage. You can see clearly. You can release what clouds your vision. You can see reality as it is, not as your story makes it. Begin now. In this moment, look at your life. What's your story about it? Can you release that story? Can you see what's actually there? This simple practice is the beginning of the Taoist way of seeing. Everything changes when your seeing changes. Not because the world changes, but because you're finally seeing accurately. Your relationships improve. Your work improves. Your peace increases. All because you're seeing reality as it is. The practice is simple but powerful. Notice your story. Release it. See what's actually there. Repeat with every situation, every person, every moment. This consistent practice transforms your entire relationship with reality. The wisdom of seeing reality as it is applies everywhere. In your work, you make better decisions. In your relationships, you connect more deeply. In your life, you respond more wisely. Clear seeing is the foundation of wise living. The Zhuangzi ends. When we see clearly, we see the Tao. When we see the Tao, we see that everything is perfect as it is. This perfection isn't about the world. It's about accurate seeing of the world. When you see clearly, you see the perfection. You've been searching for understanding outside yourself. The Taoist answer is simple. Develop clear seeing. See reality as it is. Stop seeing your story about reality. This clear seeing reveals everything you need to know. The peace that comes from clear seeing is unlike anything else. Not denial of difficulty, but accurate understanding of what's actually difficult. Not avoidance of pain, but clear seeing of the pain and what it's teaching. This accurate seeing is liberating. Your vision has been obscured by stories, judgments, expectations, fears, and wants. These are clouds covering your clear seeing. The Taoist practice is learning to see through these clouds. To see the clarity beneath. This clarity is always available. It's just been obscured. Remove one cloud at a time. Release one story. Clear seeing increases. Release one judgment. Your vision sharpens. Remove one expectation. Accuracy improves. Day by day, your seeing becomes clearer. Your understanding becomes deeper. Your wisdom grows. The Tao Te Ching says, the clearer you see, the freer you become. This freedom isn't from external circumstances. It's from internal clarity. When you see clearly, you're free. Free from your stories. Free from your judgments. Free to respond wisely to what actually is. This freedom is available to you now. Not someday when you've done years of practice. Now, by choosing to see clearly, by releasing your story, by looking at what's actually there. This choice, made repeatedly, transforms your entire relationship with reality. The Taoist way of seeing is the way of simplicity. Not because reality is simple, but because clear seeing is simpler than story making. Responding to reality is simpler than defending your interpretation. Living with what is simpler than fighting what is. When you see reality as it is, your life becomes simpler. Your relationships become simpler. Your work becomes simpler. Not because they change, but because you're no longer complicating them with your stories about them. The practice continues. Notice your story. Release it. See clearly. Respond wisely. Repeat. This cycle, repeated throughout your day, throughout your life, transforms your entire experience of being alive. The Zhuangzi describes the master of clear seeing as a person at peace with everything. Not because everything is perfect, but because they see everything accurately. They see the perfection in imperfection, the purpose in struggle, the meaning in challenge. You can be this master. You can see clearly. You can see accurately. You can see reality as it is without your stories. This seeing is your natural state. It's what remains when you remove what's obscuring it. Begin your practice now. Choose one person you frequently misunderstand. Practice seeing them without your story. Who are they actually? Not who you think they are, not who you're afraid they are, but who they actually are. This practice is transformation. Day by day, your clear seeing grows. Your understanding deepens. Your relationships improve. Your responses become wiser. Your peace increases. All from the simple practice of seeing reality as it is instead of as your story makes it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if the Taoist way of seeing reality as it has resonated with you, and you want more ancient wisdom on clear perception, releasing distorted vision. and discovering how accurate seeing transforms your understanding of yourself, others, and your entire life through the power of perception.